Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Picture this: you're walking the quiet streets of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a city famous for its creamy cheeses and once crowned the gem of the Midwest. But beneath its charming facade, a chilling darkness was brewing in the late 80s and early 90s. Young men, mostly gay and from marginalized communities, started vanishing without a trace, leaving the city gripped by fear of a serial killer. No one could have imagined that inside a nondescript apartment on North 25th Street, a monster was crafting a gruesome museum of horrors. Today we're diving into the terrifying story of Jeffrey Dahmer, the Milwaukee Monster, and the crimes that shocked America to its core. Buckle up because this is one wild ride. I'm one Hamantamatstamwenon in Furts. No really one in the The fateful night, July 9th, 1991. It was a typical Monday night in Milwaukee around 11:30 p.m. when two police officers were patrolling the streets. As they passed a rundown apartment building on North 25th Street, a frantic man, shirtless and with a handcuff dangling from his wrist, bolted toward them screaming, "He's trying to kill me." His name was Tracy Edwards, and his story sent chills down the officers' spines. Edwards explained that earlier that evening, he'd been at a gay bar where a charming white guy offered him and his friends $100 to come back to his apartment for drinks and some spicy photos. Edwards was the only one who took the bait. When he stepped into the apartment, a putrid stench hit him immediately. Scattered on the living room floor were bottles of hydrochloric acid and a horror flick. The Exorcist flickered on the TV. The man brushed off the acid as cleaning solution, but Edwards felt uneasy. After some small talk, the guy slapped a handcuff on Edwards, claiming it was just a personal kink. Trying to stay calm, Edwards went along with it. Things took a dark turn when they entered the bedroom. The stench grew worse, and Edwards spotted a blue plastic barrel in the corner, likely the source of the foul odor. As he posed for photos on the bed, the man suddenly pulled a knife, ordering Edwards to strip. Then in a chilling whisper, he said, "I'm going to eat your heart." Panic surged through Edwards. Realizing he was in mortal danger, he played it cool, suggesting they grab drinks in the living room. When the man let his guard down, Edwards landed a solid punch, bolted for the unlocked door, and ran straight into the arms of the police. The horrors of apartment 203. Following Edwards' lead, the officers entered apartment 213. A calm white man answered the door, admitting he'd cuffed Edwards, but claiming the key was in the bedroom. Wary, the police stepped inside to investigate. In the bedroom, they found a drawer slightly ajar, revealing Polaroid photos of dismembered bodies. Their worst fears were confirmed when they opened the fridge. A freshly severed human head stared back alongside neatly packaged body parts. The apartment was a nightmare. 11 skulls, some bleached, others painted, a barrel filled with acid and dissolving remains, two complete skeletons, a pair of severed hands, and 74 photos documenting the gruesome dismemberment process. Officers described the scene as a surgical horror show. The man was immediately subdued. He identified himself as Jeffrey Dahmer, born May 21st, 1960 in Milwaukee. In a chilling confession, he said, "I did it all. I deserve to die." A troubled childhood. Jeffrey Dahmer's descent into darkness began early. Born to Lionel, a busy chemist, and Joyce, a mother battling postpartum depression, Dahmer grew up in a fractured home. His parents' constant arguments and neglect left him isolated. At age 4, a hernia surgery left him withdrawn and socially awkward. As a child, Dahmer developed a bizarre fascination with bones after watching his father conduct experiments. He began collecting dead insects and small animals, even killing a dog and displaying its head on a stick as a trophy. At 10, his father taught him how to bleach bones, unknowingly fueling his son's morbid obsession. The family moved frequently, and Dahmer's isolation deepened with alcohol, becoming his crutch by his teens. In high school, Dahmer was a rebellious loner, staging pranks like faking seizures or bleeding like a sheep to get attention. He excelled only in biology, where his fixation on dissecting animals grew. As a closeted gay teen, he fantasized about a partner who would never leave him, a desire that would later twist into something sinister. A reign of terror. Dahmer's first murder came in 1978, just weeks after graduating high school. He lured Stephen Hicks to his family home with the promise of drinks. When Hicks tried to leave, Dahmer killed him with a 10-pound dumbbell, later dissolving the body in acid and scattering the bone fragments in the woods. This marked the start of a 13-year killing spree. From 1987 onward, Dahmer targeted gay men, often Black, Asian, or Hispanic, luring them to his apartment or hotels with offers of money for photos or sex. He drugged their drinks, killed them, and dismembered their bodies, keeping skulls as trophies. Some victims were subjected to horrific experiments with Dahmer, drilling holes into their heads and injecting acid or boiling water to create living zombies under his control. He even consumed parts of his victims, storing hearts and livers in his fridge. The case of 14-year-old Connor Synthesomphone in 1991 is particularly haunting. Dahmer lured the boy to his apartment and injected acid into his brain. Synthesomphone escaped, but neighbors who found him called the police. Dahmer convinced officers the boy was his 19-year-old boyfriend who'd had too much to drink. Ignoring the neighbors' concerns and the boy's visible injuries, the police returned him to Dahmer, who killed him shortly after. This incident exposed deep flaws in the system, including racial bias, as Milwaukee's police often overlooked cases involving minority victims. The fall and the trial. Dahmer's reign ended in 1991 with his arrest. Charged with 17 counts of first-degree murder, he confessed to 16. His trial, starting in January 1992, captivated the nation. Initially pleading guilty, Dahmer later claimed insanity, but prosecutors argued he was fully aware and in control, killing for pleasure and domination. After a 4-month trial, the jury found him guilty on February 15, 1992, sentencing him to 16 life terms, totaling 941 years. In prison, Dahmer read the Bible and confessed his sins, but showed little remorse. He once revealed plans to build an altar with 10 skulls as a symbol of his power. On November 28, 1994, he was beaten to death in the prison bathroom by fellow inmate Christopher Scarver, who claimed he was carrying out God's justice. A lasting legacy and a call to action. The story of Jeffrey Dahmer is more than a tale of a monster. It's a stark warning about the consequences of unchecked mental illness, societal neglect, and systemic failures. His crimes thrived in the shadows of a city divided by racial tensions, where marginalized voices were too often ignored. The tragedy of his victims, especially young Connor Synthesomphone, whose life could have been saved, underscores the urgent need for compassion, vigilance, and reform in our communities and justice systems. We must learn to spot the warning signs of disturbed individuals, early ensure law enforcement listens to all voices equally, and foster environments where no one feels invisible. Let's honor the memory of Dahmer's victims by committing to a world where such horrors are prevented. Share their stories, advocate for change, and never stop asking questions. If this story moved you, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more gripping true crime tales. Drop a comment below. What's your take on this case, and how can we prevent future tragedies? Together, we can make a difference. See you in the next video.